Good evening, I'm Clarice Tinsley. Dallas ISD and a half dozen other districts are investigating threats of violence against several school campuses. The investigations stretch from coast to coast and include mainly large urban school districts. Dallas ISD decided not to shut down its two campuses that were the focus of threats. Sean Rabb first on Fox 4 News with a closer look at the threats and the response.
Clarice, and lots of information for you tonight. First of all, it was about 8 o'clock last night when those email threats came in to specific teachers and staffers at LG Pinkston High School and Eladio Martinez Elementary. Because the threats did not perhaps say which schools in the district, but because they came directly to individual email accounts, those schools where those teachers were employed, those staffers worked, those schools were the focus of the district's emergency response protocol.
By 11:20 last night, we were at those schools and with bomb dogs and a task force supplied by the Dallas Police Department, and we took the threats very serious.
Email threats promising jihadist-like bombings and shootings against Dallas ISD schools, Eladio Martinez Elementary and LG Pinkston High School, where Roberta Crenshaw felt it okay for her granddaughter to attend classes today. 94% of Pinkston's enrollment showed up despite the threat. Did you have any concerns?
No, they called me about 5 this morning with a recording on my phone and saying that the police had checked the school out and it was clear.
This is the call that went to every parent in Dallas ISD at 5:50 this morning.
Dallas ISD received a terroristic threat sent to staff at Pinkston High School and Eladio Martinez Elementary School. Dallas ISD police immediately activated its emergency response protocol to verify the safety of all schools.
We were still in bed when we got the call, and a little bit of shock set in.
For Letty Rodriguez and more than a fourth of parents, the shock enough to keep her son Edward home. Only 70% of Martinez students showed up.
They may have been taking exams. I know it's just the day from school's over tomorrow for Christmas vacation, and I just still, just my gut instinct was just telling me, just go ahead and keep them home.
Dallas and Houston, part of a group of school systems across the country receiving the email threats last night. None credible. Houston released its email threat purported to be from a student who'd been bullied at a high school, writing, "I found faith and comfort in Allah. My 46 jihad affiliates and I are going to unleash a massacre of epic proportion, targeting every single school and student in the district." Statements Houston police described as over the top, like, "We have highly trained sniper forces." The email, which also lists various weapons, even planted napalm, anonymous city sources say, mirrors the email that came to staffers at Pinkston and Martinez. Like email threats emailed to New York and Los Angeles Monday, triggering a one-day shutdown of the LA Unified School District.
We're trying as best we can to understand how we track through the IP address to get the source of these threats. And of course, we haven't identified any suspicious people or persons in the area associated with this email threat.
A somewhat rattled but resolved Dallas ISD Superintendent Michael Hinojosa deciding to leave school open.
We feel that our students are safe, but it was very important that we take assertive action at this point.
Our neighbors to the south, Houston, contacting Dallas ISD in the pre-dawn hours to try to gauge how Dallas was going to handle this email threat, and ultimately, like Dallas, decided to open and hold classes today. No problems down in Houston either. Letters going home tonight, Clarice, to students at those two schools, Eladio Martinez and LG Pinkston, to their parents, trying to reassure parents that their most prized possession is safe in the hands of Dallas ISD. Tonight is the last school meeting of this calendar year before the Christmas break, the board meeting. It certainly takes on a different tenor now with the events of last night and early this morning.
Sean, you absolutely are correct. That is the most prized possession, the children. The officials are talking about tracking down the IP address. Sean, is it the same address that was in Germany for Los Angeles and New York? And what else are they doing in the investigation, trying to track down where this email got started?
Well, we don't know that yet, if it is in fact the same address. We have to assume at least the address is the same for the email to Houston and Miami, those very similar we're being told, to the Dallas email. So it's likely they all come from the same email, the same IP, but because it was routed through Germany doesn't mean that's where it originated. It could have originated stateside even. Investigators will go through that email and compare it to the others, look at the language, how it's written, and really try to understand if it is someone who's a foreigner or if it's someone who's trying to pretend to be someone they're not, and even try to gauge the age of the person writing it. Could it really be a student who was bullied at some point in their high school career, and this is some way of payback in schools across the country? Or could it be terrorist or something else nefarious to disrupt and bring shock to public school systems? That's all going to come out in the days and weeks ahead. The Cyber Terrorism and Joint Terrorism Task Force are looking at that email. DPD has some qualified people on loan to the government who are also working on that IP address to try and really nail down the origin of this terroristic writing.
Good reporting, Sean. Thank you. And while the Houston ISD police chief deemed the email threat to that district is not credible, additional officers were placed at schools today in Houston as a precautionary measure. Police and maintenance crews also searched the district's buildings after the email threat was received last night.
We spent all night with our, we have a explosive detection K9 unit that were out and randomly searching our schools. We brought in all the extra officers we could for patrol this morning and monitoring our schools throughout the day.
Houston ISD police say the email threat did not come from Houston. There will be increased police presence there through Friday.